Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Kevin Warner, Associate AD for Communications and Strategic Initiatives with JMU Athletics. And we're thrilled to have everyone join us today as we welcome the Chesney family to join our JMU family and welcome Bob Chesney as the 9th JMU football head coach. We appreciate your patience through our slight delay through some travel logistics, but we're glad to have everyone join us here in the club in Bridgeforth Stadium, as well as many fans tuning in on social media joining us on this live presentation. And also glad to have our members of the media join us here and interact with us in this press conference. This morning we'll have opening remarks from President Alger, followed by our Director of Athletics, Jeff Bourne, and finally then JMU head coach Bob Chesney. And then we will all be seated and we'll welcome questions from members of the media. And with that said, I will turn things over to President Alger.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to have you all here. What a special day at James Madison University. We are so excited to welcome Bob Chesney. Of course, coming from Holy Cross, you may know that he already rocks purple, as you can see. So really, really appreciate that. An exciting new era for JMU football. And by the way, you'll be meeting other members of the family soon, but we are delighted to have the Chesney family here with us today. So glad all of you can be with us and making the trip here. So it's really an exciting moment for all of us. I have to say, I had the pleasure of speaking with Coach Chesney late, and I mean really late, an evening this past week, and he had just flown across the country from Las Vegas, I guess, back home, and I can tell you the energy and the enthusiasm that he brought was just palpable, even on Zoom, and I can tell you that it's even more exciting in person. So we're just thrilled and delighted, Bob, to have you with us. Coach Chesney, of course, joins us at a very auspicious time. You may have noticed that JMU Athletics is having a moment right now. So obviously it's been an extraordinary year already. We of course are hard at work preparing for our first ever FBS football bowl game. A pretty big deal, right? And I want to thank everybody for making that possible. It was quite a team effort to get to this point. But, you know, we've sought to do things the right way here at James Madison University, and we work hard to ensure that athletics is aligned with our educational mission as a university. And of course, it's a time when intercollegiate athletics is facing rapid change and a lot of uncertainty. But here at JMU, we have always continued to focus on preparation of our student athletes for success in careers and in life. And our student athletes, of course, have excelled on and off the field. In fact, we're especially proud that we have won all of the top university-wide academic awards in the Sun Belt Conference these first 2 years as members. And that says a lot about JMU and the kind of university that we want to be. You all know the JMU experience is grounded in great education, both in and outside the classroom, with strong faculty-student interaction, an emphasis on producing well-rounded citizens who will use their education and their skills to make a difference in the world. And that experience, of course, includes strong academics and strong athletics, as well as community and civic engagement. So that's why we knew that Bob Chesney was the right fit at the right time for this university. As you'll hear, he brings that kind of commitment, that kind of understanding of our values and priorities as a university. Yes, he wins, and we love that, but he also wins with integrity, with passion, with discipline, and with a focus on teaching. So thank you all so much for coming today, and now I'm going to turn things over to my wonderful colleague, and I'm still in denial, Jeff, in his last year, our Director of Athletics, Jeff Bourne.
It's a good afternoon to be a Duke, right? John, thank you. Appreciate your help. Marianne, glad to have you here. The Algers are really big sports fans, university fans in general, and we certainly appreciate their help. Well, this was a journey, okay? I want to recognize our search committee that helped walk me through this. 3 individuals who we pushed really hard and pushed all over the country to find the right fit, and their support, guidance, and input was really important to us in every stage. So Cliff Wood, an alum, Cliff, I know you're out there somewhere, back over here, donor and ex-athletic employee, so did a great job, he really did. Dr. Roger Sangston, who I think most of you know, Roger. Roger's our NCAA faculty representative and a tenured professor here on campus, been involved in all of our searches and is able to provide just wonderful insight on the academic front. And then last but not least, Dimitri Holloway. Dimitri, I don't know if you're here or not. Dimitri's a graduate assistant in our men's football program, former football student athlete here, and was able to really help us, I think, a lot from the standpoint of voice with regard to the student athlete. So in my opinion, we had all the important ingredients that it was going to take to make a really, really good hire. So we're glad that process is there, and I want to thank my staff, admin staff, and university staff who really helped make today a special day. We're joined today by some of our student athletes that are with us. I think football student athletes over here. I appreciate you all coming out and being here, and I want to thank you. We're excited about your future and where this is going. Always tough to lose a head coach when things are going well. Not easy. But I think it's a great symbol in many ways because when people want your coach, you're doing the right things and you're winning, right? So how do you follow up from that? You go out and you hire an excellent coach. And we did that. We got Bob Chesney, so. As a matter of fact, we got the whole package. And the whole package was we got his family here today. Not just immediate family, but some extended family members, and I want to recognize them. Andrea, glad you're here. I'll go in order. Bo, Lila, Hudson, welcome to JMU. Glad you're here. And we've got parents, uncles, aunts, brothers, the entourage. I can't tell you how happy we are to have you here with us and enjoy the JMU experience and what a special place this is. So we're glad to have you. All right, what are we looking for? How many times do I have to answer that question? What are you looking for in a head coach, right? Well, obviously we went about this. We were looking for a head coach from the start. And the reason that we believe that so strongly is that this is a tough profession. A head football coach in today's industry has to wear a lot of hats, and they have to do a lot of things well. And frankly, I can't afford for on-job training, right? We need somebody who can hit the ground running. So it was important, and we looked at that in the search early on. We wanted somebody, like John said, that won games. That was obviously an important part. And what kind of teacher are they? Do they develop talent? At JMU and all schools, you have to develop talent, but you need to do it here. So somebody that was a good teacher was a very important part of that. Somebody that was a good fit for our team and our university culture was another component of it. And could they recruit the East Coast? A lot of names kicked out, a lot of people in the Midwest and the West, but recruiting the East Coast was a very important element to us. John mentioned academic standards. We're proud of who we are academically, and we want a coach that can share that desire for excellence on the academic side. Somebody that can handle discipline. Not something you want to have to think about a lot, but you have to do it as part of a head coach. And last but not least, somebody that knew about the portal, NIL, and had the ability to navigate this changing evolution of what college football is today. Very important to us. So finding a head coach was going to be important. And when we went out and started looking, we found a guy that just checked all the boxes. And I'm really glad he's here. He's won at every level where he's been. Started Division III, Division II, FCS, and now he's at FBS. And he really pushed Holy Cross to a place that many probably thought they could never go in terms of competitiveness. He's a player's coach. He believes in relationships, not just in winning games, but because he develops players as individuals, and he wants to get to know them individually. That is a very, very important part of being a coach at JMU. As you're going to find out, he's very engaging, and he's going to resonate extremely well with our student athletes and the JMU community. I think it's an important part that his family is engaged with us as a community and with our football program. And we're looking forward to the day that you all are permanent residents in Harrisonburg. All right, he's busy. He's got a lot to do the next few weeks. You think about where he finds himself. He's trying to hire coaches. He's looking at recruiting, hitting the recruiting trail. He's building relationships internally with his team. And we got something called a bowl game in the middle of this that he's navigating around. And let's not forget, the holidays are right at our footsteps, right? So it's a busy time. But I can tell you, I cannot think of a better individual that we could have found to be the next head coach at JMU, the 9th head coach at JMU, than Bob Chesney. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Coach Chesney.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. What a remarkable day. I'm honored, privileged, and humbled to be standing here in front of you. Couple things as we go here. First and foremost, I want to thank President Alger, Mary Beth Herod, who was also on that late night call with Jeff as we sort of navigated the final steps of this, but I want to thank them for believing in me and allowing me to lead this program into a new era. Their passion for JMU is evident and certainly infectious, and that had a lot to do with the reason why I'm standing here today. I want to go back in time a little bit and thank some of the head coaches I've worked for in the past, two in particular, in Rich Manello and Jim Margraf, who helped me learn how to be a head coach, allowed me to succeed, allowed me to take on responsibility, allowed me to watch them build relationships with their players, not just coach them as X's and O's on a board, but how to build those relationships. I also want to thank the athletic directors that hired me initially as head football coach, and that was back in Division III, Colin Sullivan, then up to Division II and Nick Smith, and then to FCS and Nate Pine for seeing things that maybe, and trusting the vision that maybe others didn't. I think that we took programs to very different heights than they've ever imagined, and I want to thank them, for seeing that through and believing in me long before everybody else did. I hope I made them proud. To the assistant coach, I've been a head coach now for 13 years, going on 14, and that's shocking, right? One of our players came in yesterday, and I was talking to him, and he said, I'm glad we have a little bit of a younger coach you can relate to. I said, absolutely. I said, I'm 26. I said, it's unbelievable. And he looked at me and goes, 20? I thought you were like 28 or 29. So that's where we're kind of at there. But ultimately, I've been coaching as a head coach for 13 years, and I just want to thank those assistant coaches that put up with me. Like sometimes I could be a lot. I want to thank them for sharing in the vision. I want to thank them for helping us and helping me grow in that role, and I hope that I was able to do the same for them. We're developing strong young men ultimately, right, and taking teams to heights that they never before imagined. I want to thank the players at every stop I've been. There's one in here right now, but I want to thank the players from everywhere I've been to, allowing me to have the pleasure to coach them. I believe that we certainly got the best out of each other, and I think, again, there were challenging moments both ways, but ultimately those deeper connections is what I was most interested in. We were very, very, very good at football, but those deeper connections to me is what makes a team, and a family. So I'm going to struggle a little bit here if I talk about my family, but just stay with me for a second if you can. But I want to go back to the Holy Cross football family. I want to go to President Rougeau, who was just phenomenal, just a phenomenal guy. Kit Hughes, Nick Smith, all of the alums, all of the administration, everybody that entrusted me and believed in me. I think that's a common theme as you go through this. But the families, the alums, the admin, just a huge thank you to each of them. We reached unprecedented heights there. They never wavered in their commitment and their support, and that means a heck of a lot to me. Obviously, my family means a lot to me. So when I would go on college visits, I shared this story upstairs, but we'd go on college visits, and I would go, my older brother Vince would go, my younger brother Nick would go, who is here, and then both sets of grandparents would go, then both of my parents would go, and there would be 9, 10 of us rolling into those visits, and I just, without their support, obviously, you don't amount to a whole lot, and I just think that, unwavering, that support over and over again is a theme in here, obviously, but from them, it's never been stronger. But I'd like to, again, my father, Bob, my mother, Claudia, my aunt, Claudia is here as well, and then my uncle Victor in here for showing support. My in-laws, Bev and Ed, couldn't make it today. They live in York, PA, not too far up the road. Just couldn't make it today. But I'd like these four to stand up, please. Look at you. Look at you. Good. Good, kid. Just thanks for sharing your father. That's all. Thank you for sharing your father and for the strength that you bestow onto me ultimately in the quest to continue to shape young men. Thank you. Couple things. Yeah, you could sit down. I grew up in a small coal mining town in the middle of Pennsylvania, right? That's my story. That's kind of how I grew up. My father was the head high school football coach. My grandfather was on the coaching staff. My uncle was also on the coaching staff. Their brother-in-law was the athletic director of that high school. And then our neighbors were basically the support staff. Moose was the cameraman, and then there's a whole other bunch of people in there that helped us. So to me, when I first saw what football was, I never saw that as a profession. I didn't see it as a job. I saw it as a way of life. And I understood very quickly, what that meant, and understood the connections, again, that were built there were far from that of who was a great football player, but instead who was a great person and who could we help, again, mold along on that journey. From 14 to 18 years old, you will never grow more physically, right, as you go through change and the things happen in your life. But from 18 to 22, you will never grow more spiritually. And I don't necessarily mean that in a religious sense, unless you want me to mean it in a religious sense, Father. But ultimately, what I mean it as is finding out who you truly are in your heart, who you are as a person. And I say this all the time in recruiting because at some point in time, you will become someone's employee, then you will become someone's employer, and then when that is done, you'll become someone's husband, and then the biggest one of them all, someone's father. And it's very important that in this stretch of time that we are together and we're competing hard. We're fighting hard together, right? We're sacrificing a lot together. We're also focusing on the inner person and who that person is going to become. And that's what stood out to me as I talked with President Alger as we sat on that call. It was about everything. It wasn't about one thing that he was looking for from our program or from me. He wanted to look at everything. And that is, again, that alignment is something that I believe very, very strongly on. Every stop along the way from D3 to D2 to FCS, for me, we were able to win. We were able to do that, and we were able to do that because of, again, the support over and over again. And I am just excited to be the next head coach here at JMU and continue in that exact train of events or string of events. This process is not easy on anyone, right? As I walk in there, we have Coach Robo doing an unbelievable job and a great staff in place doing an unbelievable job. Unprecedented times as you're entering into that first bowl game, right? And there's a lot of uncertainty out there. I could feel in the room when I met with the players, I could feel just their angst and the pressure on them and the uncertainty. And my job is to make sure that, again, I am able to sit with them and get a chance to meet and learn every single one of them because we have big goals ahead, but it's going to start with trust. I'm not here to knock down a program and build it up from scratch. You don't need that, right? You have an unbelievable football program here, right? I am here to advance it and accelerate it, right? I'm here to add to it and not slow this down in any which way. And I express that to the team. There's a lot of unbelievably great things going on that field that are going to continue to go on, right? At the same point in time, there's some things that I think that I could help with to take us to that next level. And I'm excited to put that into place. Final thing is this. For me, right, I see huge opportunity here. I want to win championships. You want to win championships, and we will do that together, right? I want to share in the sacrifice and the challenge with these men, and I want to develop our players, right? I want to be proud of this team and know that we are making an impact on each other's lives, right? To the alumni, community, student body, marching Royal Dukes, right? All 500 of you, right? We need your support now, ultimately more than ever, right? There is no reason that our stadium is not packed on Saturdays, right? Saturday afternoons, and you have one of the best venues, right, in all of college football, and you have one of the best teams in the group of 5 level. And I think that is important for everyone to continue to come out here and support it. To the Virginia and DMV head coaches, I cannot wait to get you guys here. We'll have a free clinic in the very near future. You are invited to whatever practice you want to come to. We need your support. It takes a village, and it will happen because of the trust and the relationships that we'll all build together. We have an immense amount of work to do, as you can imagine, right, in a very short period of time. When I went to bed last night, I was here the other week. I came back, got here late Sunday night, and woke up Monday and worked a pretty good day. And when I went to bed last night, I was like, man, it's Thursday already. I did a lot this week. It's Monday, right? The amount of work being packed into these days is extreme, right? And we have a whole lot more of it, but I love every single minute of it. I have not been on social media, and I have not been on my phone in a pretty long period of time. I want to spend, time communicating with my phone put away. So I woke up today with 401 text messages and 41 voicemails, and I apologize to anyone out there that I have not been able to get in contact with. There will be a time when I can catch up and just get back to communicating. But what that told me, ultimately, is that with that many texts and that many messages, the world cares about JMU football. That's what it told me, right? And I promise to give this team every single thing I got, every single day that I am here, right? Each and every day. The future begins now. I want to thank you, and go Dukes. Go easy on me.
All right, Bob and Jeff, if you want to pull your mics up close, we'll open up questions from the media that's gathered here. If you can ask for a microphone, introduce yourself, and who wants to go first? David?
Bob, David Teal with the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Welcome.
Thank you.
Could you please walk us through the process as it started? Getting in contact, I guess, through the search firm, through CSA, and then meeting with Jeff and the other officials here.
Yeah, so obviously the job opened, and when it did, it was something that I think, the world began to connect dots. It wasn't necessarily me necessarily. There was a lot of conversation going on out there on social media, so to speak. And then as we began to build, the conversations initially with Jeff, I started to learn just, what exactly he was looking for. I think I know from where I sat what I expect from JMU, but I wanted to know what he thought and felt about it, and what he was looking for, because sometimes it just doesn't work. We're not looking for the same things, and the alignment may not be strong. But we had a conversation, and then they had a chance to visit with them, and after that, I went out to Las Vegas. There was a couple-day stretch in there, and then we turned the corner, and we were here. So moved rapidly, but it has to at this the time frame we're currently in, and that was really the gist of it.
And then Jeff mentioned your considerable to-do list. With that condensed calendar, and I don't even know if he mentioned signing day next week, how does one in your position prioritize all of that, and have you been able to?
Yeah, you have to prioritize, but you also have to compartmentalize, is what I'm finding. The amount of subjects that need my attention are extreme, on top of trying to meet these players, right? On top of trying to put a personal touch on that, which I have not been able to fully do with the whole team yet. But I sat with the leadership council. I began to figure out within the team, what do they need first, right? And those are items that I can deliver on. And I think that was probably the first and most important step, is to make sure when I go about my day, every single day, the nucleus of it is around what they expect and need from me as the head coach at this moment. The rest of it then just falls into wherever you find those extra minutes to make a recruiting call, or to be in a situation to talk to a staff member, or to put yourself in a spot to talk to the recruiting department about the recruiting boards. We have guys in the portal. If they leave, what's the next steps? All those things are conversations that are continuing and ongoing that we need to be really buttoned up on.
Lane?
Coach, in the back up here, I'm Lane Castanante with CBS 6 down in Richmond. This opportunity that you have here is unlike any that anybody's had before you that has come here. You're going to have a new boss before you coach your first game.
Correct.
What tells you personally that you are ready to make this step up to this level and this particular opportunity with all the uncertainty that it comes with?
Yeah, well, first, that starts with trust, right? I trust President Alger. I trust Mary Beth. I trust everybody that will be involved in that. And Jeff will also be involved in it. And I think that, again, alignment will ring true through this next hire. That's A. B is what makes me ready for this is the fact that I did not coach FCS football as an FCS football coach. I did not just go on and say, this is just FCS football, let's run it that way. I spent many trips, many hours, many dollars meeting with NFL programs and FBS programs. And when you look into the way our recruiting is done, our sports science is done, our practice is done, our schematics are done, the overall run of a program is much more like an NFL program than even an FBS program. And that's ultimately what my goal was to try to make this as close to a professional program anywhere I've been as humanly possible. And that's what we've had the ability to do. And again, when I was from Division III to Division II to FCS to all the way up, that is my objective, is to make sure that we're recruiting at a higher level, we're building a program at a higher level, and I'm not just going to visit with other FCS schools and say, this is the level, let's do it that way. I'm going to say, what does the FBS do? What does the NFL do? And let's find a way to make sure we're implementing that in our program. And that's what we've been able to do. We played 4 FBS teams in the past 3 years. We beat 2 of them and lost to Boston College by 3 and Army by 3 as well. So we're putting a product on the field as far as identifying talent, developing that talent, and then after developing that talent, making sure that we can produce on the field by the way we practice, by the way we test things in fire, by the way that we run this program, that puts us in a position to be extremely successful, which we will do here.
Coach Jackson Hepner from The Breeze, JMU student newspaper.
Great.
You talked a little bit about, just the importance of developing players, not just as football players, but as people. Throughout the course of your career, as you've sort of worked with, plenty of players over numerous different programs, what are the key lessons that you've learned, just kind of how to develop these young men as a player and also, or as players and just kind of as a mentor for them?
Yeah, well, I think that starts with trust, right? And trust is built over time with consistency, and then eventually you have to produce results, right? So over time and consistency, I need to show up every single day, right, the same way. Whatever I'm going through in my personal life, I need to show up for them like it is the greatest day of my life. If you went to Disney World and you watch Mickey Mouse run around, walking around, kicking rocks, and he is having a bad day, that would impact you in a major way. So I understand that I am one of one on this team, right? And there are many members of this team that need me to show up every day in the best frame of mind possible. That's A, starting with consistency and time, right? The second part of that, though, is transparency, right? And communication. Transparency and communication are 2 very important things that every program needs to have. And that, when it matters the most, allows you to understand what you're thinking, Jackson, what I'm thinking, and what do we have to do to meet in the middle. So to me, it comes down to that, really. Trust, consistency, transparency, so that we get to the bottom of things pretty quickly.
And you mentioned how you don't really see a need to knock everything down in the program. When looking at, kind of your coaching staff, are you going to be looking at, keeping a lot of the guys who are still here, maybe bringing some outside hires, particularly maybe from places like Holy Cross that you've worked with before? Yeah,
so we're going to find the perfect blend of all of it, right? That is my job. So people helped me get here. I did not get here by myself, right? That is not lost on me. So I have a responsibility, to them to make sure that I put them in the best position. But I have a responsibility to JMU to make sure that we find the guys who are the most competent football coaches that can connect the best with our players. And then there has to be this overall chemistry that works in that office. So to me, competence, connection, chemistry. We're going to spend a lot of time together, right? And you'll walk by these offices and those lights will be on long into the hours and way early in the morning, right? So I need to know that I'm with good people that I trust, good people that I believe in, good people that are very, very good at their jobs that can connect with these young men and help to continue to develop them on and off the field. All of these guys' goals on this team should be to go to the NFL, right? So at Division II, we had 7 go to the NFL. At Holy Cross, I think we're even higher than that now, right? And that doesn't always exist. That is my goal when it is said and done. But ultimately, there's also this goal of connecting and developing them as young men, because at some point, you got to hang up the cleats. And when you do that, what type of person are you? What type of employee are you? What type of father or husband are you? That also is part of this job. So I will find the right people to do that through connection, competence, and chemistry.
Thank you. Back first and then back up front.
Back here, Coach Anthony Romano from WDBJ in Roanoke.
Anthony.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Anthony.
What were your impressions of this program from the outside, whether it be the excitement of the college game day crowd or just simply the success on the field last year?
Well, the success is what stands out, and not only last year, but prior. So when I first got into the FCS level, we had lost to I won't say the name of the team, but we had lost to a team and we finished second in our conference. And then I watched, our JMU team play that team later, and the season ended that way. But ultimately, watching those guys play, I was like, and then seeing it year after year after year, there was something special here. The energy here, when you watch a game in this stadium, there's something different about that. So I understood what caliber of players comes here. I understood what caliber of student athlete comes here. And as we talk about the Everything University, that's my job, is to make sure of that. But to me, this immense amount of respect, right? Immense amount of understanding of what shapes this program and how vital the community is to it. And we're going to need a whole lot more of that as we move forward.
Katie Harper with the Daily News Record here in Harrisonburg. JMU has been a program that's kind of taken the FBS stage by storm this year. So what's been the emotions behind taking over a program like this?
Well, it's a transition, right? And to go through that transition and have so much success, that is remarkable, right? Or right now, probably the highest ranked Group of 5 program in the country right now. That is a huge responsibility that comes with that, in my mind. So what comes with that is finding the right people to build the staff, connecting with these players, and really getting to work. Emotionally, you understand the challenges that come with every level you've been at. So there's not a ton of emotion connected to it. There's just this sense of, let's get to work, right? Let's get to work. Let's learn these players. Let's continue to develop these players, and let's help them through this bowl game. And then turn the corner into that next semester and be ready to go. So I wouldn't say a lot of emotion. I would say just a long to-do list of things we got to get working on.
Hey, Coach. Jarvis Heron, WHSV TV here in Harrisonburg. Considering you enter a situation where the foundation's been laid with all the success that this program has had, how does that change your approach and your philosophies, if at all?
Well, it allows you to move faster, quicker. So when you come into a program that you need to totally rebuild, it's like year 2, year 3 until you start seeing some of those results. I think here you're already started, right? You're in a great place. We just need to identify some issues, correct those, identify the strengths, build on those, and continue to advance and accelerate this program. So this reminds me of year 3 or 4, for me, maybe being at a program that, had high-level talent, championship culture, right? A community of support. That's what this reminds me of, when you got that initially built when you were trying to start from scratch. You don't have to do that here. So again, it's about engaging in the community, getting out in the community. We're talking about it earlier about trying to put something together before the end of this week even, but just how do we start to move this as fast as humanly possible so that we don't miss a beat?
Back of the room. Hey, hey, Coach, how's it going?
Great.
David DeGuzman, WFXR TV in Roanoke. Congrats again. Jeff mentioned your ability to recruit the East Coast. How important will recruiting in the Commonwealth be, especially at a time when college football in this state is very competitive?
Yeah, huge. And that's, again, where those connections with the high school football coaches come into play. When I was even at I lived in Baltimore for, I think 6 years I was there, and the DMV was fertile recruiting ground for us. When I went back and looked at this roster, a lot of it came from just west of D.C., right? One of our best players at Holy Cross comes from Sterling, Virginia, and he's a phenomenal football player. But we understand this area, right? And for me, it's about finding the other coaches with even deeper connections to it, and myself getting on the road and developing the relationships with those coaches. This has got to be the focal point of our recruiting. This has got to be the focal point of our relationship building, and we're ready for that.
Kate, and then back to David.
Kaden Bridges from JMU Student Newspaper also. You talk about being player-oriented. What have the last few days looked like kind of getting to know this new team, and how do you plan on continuing to build those relationships with this new team?
Time, right? Just time, spending time with them. And that has got to be again, the most important thing that I do right now. They don't know what to expect from me just yet. I stood in front of the whole team twice only up to this point in time. This is day 3 where we are at. So I was in the weight room the other morning. I was at practice the other day. I was there for one practice, then in a walkthrough. Today's practice after, we're going to begin to implement a couple things that will look like our future program as well, just the practice structure. So if any of you are around and want to head out to practice, it's open. Please feel free to be there. I think it's a great opportunity. But that's it, time and finding the windows to be able to sit down with each of those. I'm going to end up moving into position groups and finding time to spend maybe a lunch with each of them here before that plane takes off for the bowl game.
Right, and then one more question. You said that JMU's this winning culture, and you talk about your coaching transition from D2, D3, FCS. Now you're here. What made JMU the right place for this point in your coaching transition?
So as I look at the landscape of all of it, the success that you just had immediately, that now we just had immediately, stands out to me at this FBS level. The support of it, the community, the history here, all is what made that perfect. Also, geographically, the location. It's not in the Deep South, an area I don't understand. It's not out in Ohio, maybe an area that I'm not familiar with. It's not up in Buffalo, New York, where maybe I'm not. This is 2.5 hours, 3 hours away from my home, right? So that, to me, starts to have those regions that I'm most familiar with, has access to that, and that also had a big reason for me being here.
Bob, having played for your dad, when did it dawn on you that after you hung up your cleats that you wanted to get into the family business?
Yeah, it's a good way to say it. Right away. I just knew that right away. I think as I sat and watched him coach and I saw the relationships and the impact he made on those young men, I think it was just what I was supposed to do, right? I didn't really think of anything else, that I could have done with my life. I did not want to be identified as just one thing. I wanted to be a football coach, because with that comes a recruiter, comes a program builder, comes a psychologist, comes a connector, comes a business sense, marketing. It's an unbelievable profession because of all the different hats. It's challenging because of the different hats you have to wear, but it's an unbelievable profession. I knew right away that that's what I wanted to do.
And then your last 3 Holy Cross teams, ultra successful. Just looking at the numbers, you ran the ball about 60% of the time.
Yep.
What does Bob Chesney's ideal offense look like? You had a fabulous dual threat quarterback there who's now in the portal.
Yes. So it looks like whatever our strengths are on that team. If you go back to the Assumption days, there's still a guy playing, in the NFL. There's 4 still playing in the NFL right now, or 3 still playing in the NFL right now. But we were not a great mobile quarterback with an unbelievable slot receiver and another great receiver. And we were able to really spread the ball around and create big plays over and over again, especially then in special teams. But offensively, it's going to be based around ultimately the quarterback. That's where a lot of it starts. So you need to have a quarterback that could compete in pressure situations and deliver over and over again, which is why practice structure needs to be very, very important for that that kid to be put on the line and go through those emotions of succeeding and winning a game, or failing and losing a game and learning from it long before he ever gets out there in the most crucial moments. But we will play to our players' strengths. We will get the ball to our playmakers. And at some point, though, you do have to run the ball. At 4th and 1, if the whole stadium knows we're running, right, their defense knows we're running, we have to be able to play tough, physical football. That still travels. That still wins, especially as you get up, up in the Northeast or wherever it might be as things move forward.
Coach, with the expansion of the college football playoff next year, how does that change what the range or the potential for success is for this program?
I think it changes it drastically. You find yourself in the window where you can get into that thing. What does that do for this program and this community? Again, the places I've been, from Division III to Division II, we found ourselves in one of the top 8 to top 5 teams in the country at programs where we were very different than everywhere else, right? We did not have grad school. We did not have 5th and 6th years. We did not have that. And that extremely, extremely high academics, when you look at the teams that we were beating and competing with, we didn't look anything like them. We didn't have a lot of the resources, that they had, and we were still able to do that. So to me, that is the ultimate goal. That's what the goal should be here. That's what I hope we all are signed up for at this moment, because that is the ultimate goal when it's said and done. Nothing
Anything
for you,
else?
Huh? Not a single question for you.
David, go ahead.
It's an easy day for me.
Yeah, geez.
Just a couple. Did you take this job without having visited campus, or did you come here before accepting
I've been
the
here
job?
2 times before. I was here, and where I visited with not this previous coaching staff, but coaching staffs earlier. So I was aware of this area. I was aware of, now the stadium was just being built the last time I was here. So that was certainly a leap of faith in some ways. But ultimately, yes, I had been down here 2 times prior.
And then, Jeff, are you able to reveal any contract terms? You had said when Kurt left that you had offered to make him the highest paid coach in the Sun Belt. Is Bob now the highest paid coach
We'll
in the Sun
be
Belt?
happy to share the contract information with you when it's complete. How about that? Those are the questions I like, by the way. Easy.
Me too. I like that question too. Make sure we answer.
And then, Jeff, I do have a question for you. When we spoke to you a week and a half ago, you said that there had already been dozens of people that reached out to you about this job. Was he high on your list, even with people reaching out?
Yes. I said in the beginning we had head coaches on our list, and there were a lot of those that reached out, but we had 4 times as many assistants that wanted this job. And as you can imagine, when you go into a search, everybody that you know is going to call you and help give you advice, or has a name. But for us, I really thought the process went extremely well. It's always great at the end of the day when you get your number 1 candidate and you feel as good about him today as we did the day that he's identified. So, all good.
Jeff, you mentioned how at one point you thought that Coach Signe would be your last coaching hire, and that sort of changed unexpectedly. How, just looking at next year when you're not going to be the athletic director anymore, but Coach Chesney will be at the helm of the football team, how much confidence do you have in this program moving forward?
Tremendously confident, because we're talking about JMU culture. We're not talking about one person as an athletic director or one football coach. We're talking about an enduring culture. And that's what we've built at this institution. It's what we recruit to, and it's what helps us thrive. And whoever is sitting in this seat next year will do a phenomenal job. It'll be a very, very competent, capable, good person, because that's who we hire. So I'm bullish on our future, as they say.
Coach, with Coach Wroblewski and his staff obviously preparing for the first bowl game, what does your kind of contribution and hands-on efforts look like right now with that?
Yeah, so they're ever changing. They're doing a great job. They brought in some guys from the outside that are familiar with the triple option that Air Force will employ, and I think as I watch them, they're doing an excellent job. My job is to be here and be present with our players. It's interesting because, and I said to Coach Robo and others, it could be a little uncomfortable if we let it be there. Let's not do that. Let's just make sure that we're in this for all in this for the right reason. So ultimately, there'll be a couple of different drills we put in the practice practice today to just elevate a little bit of the excitement and the energy and test a couple things in fire. But that's really it. I'm not going to get involved in things I see schematically. That won't be it. This will be their chance to prepare and lead the team in those roles, which I think is really exciting for them. And then for me, it's really going to be about just evaluating our coaches, evaluating our players, and building those relationships. I will watch energy, I will watch effort, and I will watch our competitive spirit, because ultimately that's what will also win games.
Jeff, just for you, you mentioned how Coach Chesney was high on you guys' list. Was there a specific moment where you and the search committee had that moment where you're like, yeah, this is our guy?
When we drove up to his house and he opened the side door, didn't bring us in the front door, brought us in the side door, we had a chance to meet him and Andrea, and it took about 10 minutes into his presentation, and I just intrinsically thought, we got our guy. This is the person for JMU, because that's one of the blessings about being around a place for 24, 25 years. You know what works, and you could just feel it. And when it's right, it's right. And it was great to meet the family, but you could tell. And his preparedness, his presentation, the way he knew us and he knew the program, that's somebody that did their homework. And he was ready for that presentation. And I think we jumped back in the car going back to the airport, and we all felt like, wow, that was powerful. So, very good.
Bob, how valuable is that opportunity to evaluate it in the current time? Because a lot of your colleagues are taking new jobs with programs that aren't in postseason. You don't have to wait till spring.
Invaluable to watch these players compete, to watch their passion for the game, identify some have more than others, like who are those leaders, and not by who speaks the most, but by their action. Those things you usually have to wait, and you get around to spring ball to finally see it, which is months away. To be able to have a leg up on that, for me to be able to start to understand what our team is comprised of, is invaluable.
Jeff, this was your 4th head coaching search. Was there anything different that you were looking at compared to sort of some of the things you were looking for in the other coaching searches?
Not really. It goes back to foundational elements. I mean, it didn't have anything to do with where the program was, the number of games that we'd won. At the end of the day, it goes back to the character of the individual, their ethics, how well you think they're going to relate to the young men and the environment and where they are. And do they have the vision to create greatness? Do they have that? And do you believe they can make that happen? And you basically are going to feel that. That's part of what administrators do. Our job is to help find coaches and support them. And for me, I look for the same thing every time. Sometimes you find it sooner than later, though.
All right, I believe that's all the questions we have today. We do have a few quick follow-up media opportunities and photos. So I know a lot of folks want to say hello, but just bear with us for a few minutes. But very grateful everyone came out today, and excited for one more big game next Saturday.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Are you okay? All right, wonderful.